Hey friends, it's Color in the Water. It's been a million years since I've gotten the opportunity to get here live. I've been busy doing furniture refinishing and just kind of mixing it up. It's been something that I've been wanting to tackle for a while, and I finally worked up the inspiration and courage to go ahead and work on that. So that was fun. And if you haven't checked it out before, go to my page. It was a bedroom set, a couple bedroom sets that I've done. One was a 4-poster twin-size bed, perfect for a little girl's room. I did a watercolor unicorn on the headboard, and I've got to admit, like being a mom of 4 boys, that was so much fun just to get girly and pop in the blues and the pinks and the purples. And I have my hands in paint regardless, whether it's watercolor or furniture paint. So that was fun. And then yesterday I finished up another bedroom set, a dresser and a chest of drawers. And I did a kind of weathered barnyard look. So it's like kind of a grayish with brown and copper accents, and then a little bit of patina distressed in like the grooves. So like turquoise and kind of like the color of like copper pennies, So it was fun. Yeah, I had a blast with it. So I'm back to painting again today. We're doing a butterfly. I wanted to go ahead and get on here at the very beginning before I've touched my paintbrush to the paper, because I want to give an idea about how this gets started. It's really fun to always see somebody when they're putting in the final touches and popping in those fun little details, but how do you get started, right? So I've gone ahead and worked out a sketch, and my sketch is pretty, hopefully the lighting is good enough. If there's any problems with the lighting, please let me know. I'm hoping that it says low network connection. I'm not sure why. Hopefully this is still going, but I started out with my sketch. And when I'm doing something super detailed, it helps to go ahead and sketch it out first so that I can make sure that I get the proportions right. This particular butterfly has tons of detail, so I had to kind of get that sketch out there first. So I'm going to start by putting in the background. I'm going to mix up kind of like a dirty green. It's like got a little bit of like a mossy undertone. And I'm going to start, a lot of my pieces start with background first and then foreground, unless of course I'm doing something that doesn't have much background, but this guy is sitting on very bright green background, so I'm going to go ahead and start popping that in. Now I'm going to do something different when it comes to the flower. Instead of allowing the flower to come out onto my background, the way that watercolor works is it's really hard to cover up something that's darker, and the green's kind of dark, and the flower that I'm putting in is really bright purple with some white highlights. So I'm going to take my green and I'm going to pop it down into the flower to start creating the area where that little flower is going to be. So I don't want to cover up any of the flower. It's just way too hard with watercolor to come back later and get the pink to cover up the green. So I'm going ahead and putting in the green underneath the body, but I'm allowing some of those little petals to shoot up, so I'm just kind of tapping in the background. If you have any questions and you're watching and something I said maybe doesn't make sense, please just, I'll try to look up every now and then and see if anybody has any questions. Hey Anessa, did you do your live yet with Leah? I kind of hope you didn't, because that means I still have a chance to catch it. Okay. This is a very cool, spiky little plant. I really love it. It looks painful to pick. Most wildflowers have little surprises like that on them. All right. I want to kind of keep my greens muted. I don't want bright green on this picture. I want to keep it kind of mossy. And I do want my butterfly to pop out. So I'm kind of letting this be a little moody. One of the common mistakes that people make when they're just starting watercolor and they haven't used that medium very much is that they oversaturate their brush with paint. Watercolor is truly like our bodies are composed of. It is mostly water and very, very little paint. So a lot of times, as you see, I'm bringing the color in, I come back in just with water and I draw that color outwards. So that's what gives that famous watercolor effect, is that movement. And you will not get that if you are using your paint too thickly on your brush. Make it work for you. Water is basically free. Use it. All right, we have most of the background in. I don't really want it to go to the very end of the page. I do want it to fade outwards, so I'm coming back in just with water and I'm letting the color fade out. This painting is about 12 by 18. I like it to be a little bit bigger because a lot of times I won't go to the very edge of the page and it'll end up fitting in a smaller frame. But for this one, I'd like to go ahead and spread it out a little. All right. That's kind of where I want to stop with the background. Now, this butterfly is kind of like a very muted yellow. I'm going to make a little space here on my fancy Corel Plate palette. I don't want my yellow to be really dirty, so it ends up just looking green then. We're going to come in here with a lemon yellow and then some medium yellow. Bring it in a little closer. And now it's a little bit bright. This guy is more of a butter yellow. So I'm going to come in with a flesh tone and just, I want it to be less of a lemon and more of like a kind of a butter. So still pretty dark. That's okay because it's going to stay watered down. All right, so the area on the back of his wings here is highlighted. The sun's shining down on it. So I've designated areas that I don't want to paint to begin with. I want them to be so light that I'm not going to actually put the yellow in right now. They're just going to be kind of white, and I'm going to tap in some really highlights, the highlights later. I'm sorry, the lowlights. So this portion of the wing is very clearly yellow, and a lot of it's kind of muddy. So we're going to start with the first pass. And when you're starting with any project, I've talked about this before, and so many other artists that I follow and watch myself talk about how that first part of your project, whether you're refinishing furniture, you're painting a picture, you can get a little disillusioned about where it's going. And if you can push through that and keep working at it, you'll kind of get to that sweet spot where you're like, okay, wait, now I see it's coming together. Now I like it. My background is a little bit damp still, so I'm making sure that I don't want the swing to bleed outwards. This guy is really pretty. I like him. He's got these little tiny pops of blue and just a little bit of red at the bottom of one wing. He's not flashy, but he's very classy. I like classy. Okay. So for the first pass, you're just focusing on making sure you don't cover up the white, and you go ahead and get your very light base coat on for the lighter colors. Subsequent passes are good for popping in darker detail. So I'm going to be coming back in and putting in the black lines that are famous on those butterflies. His body is also really yellow, but the top is highlighted in this portion. So I'm not going to push the color all the way to the top. I'm going to leave a little bit of the white there to designate where the sun is hitting. All right. Nissa, are you still on there? I didn't know if your phone was just automatically on or if you're on, but that last one you made was so beautiful. I just wanted to eat it up. And Nissa made a gorgeous red cabinet, and it had like every shade of red you could possibly imagine, just in layers and depth. I was in love as usual. And it has sweet texture too. All right. There is a little bit of what seems to be a darker yellow on the very tips, so I'm going to go ahead and pop that in. And by darker, I mean darker than the highlighted portions. Everything on this wing is still pretty light. Okay. Now, I don't have much color on my brush. I'm going to go ahead and pop in just a little tiny bit of yellow up on this wing. And by tiny, I mean like you probably won't be able to see it. So what I'm probably going to do after this first pass is finished, I'm going to let it dry, and then I will come back in and erase these lines. If you watercolor over pencil, you're still able to erase it. So that really helps because you can kind of let that be a guide for you in getting your shapes, and then you can come back and get rid of those lines later. Okay. All right, I'm gonna put in some of the purple for this flower. Hey Annette, thanks for watching. I hope you're getting your furniture soon. I didn't know if I got to your house yet or not, but I really, really hoped you liked it. And Anissa and I had so much fun with it. You'll have to let me know how Charlotte's doing. If I'm not Charlotte, I'm sorry, Wilbur. If you found a spot on your wall yet. All right, now I'm mixing up the purple. It's a very, very bright purple, and it's got just a tiny bit of pink in it. Okay, so first pass will be light. So I'll bring this a little bit closer so you can see what I'm doing. I got my purple here, and I'm mixing a little bit of pink. All right, let's see. I want the inside of my flower to be darkest, and I do not want it to be solid lines. So I'm going to move my brush around a lot. The last thing I want is to lose my texture by just smashing that brush down and swirling it all together. I mean, I'd cheat myself out of, you know, all that white spot that I left. This flower is very unpredictable. I love it. It's all over the place. Okay, I'm coming back in. It gets a little bit darker at the bottom and a little more pink. So I'm coming back in with a little more flesh tone and red. And I'm going to put that pass of purple in. That's where some of the shadow is. Okay. Now, the bottom of the flower is kind of this bulbous green area here. Imagine that's where the seed portion is. And it is kind of a bright green. So we're gonna steal some of that yellow, and I'm going to mix up a really kind of lime green. Okay, I'm gonna come in here. There it is. Got it. Play with those paints. When you're mixing it up, don't settle for the first one that you get. Now, there are highlighted portions on the stem too, so I don't want this area to be solid, okay? I'm going to go in with the same kind of brush strokes that I used on the other portion of the flower up here. And I'm going to pop that in. It's a very like spiky looking flower. Oh, that was good timing. I finished up my first pass and I hear my, oh, I'm so excited too. I really hope you love it, Annette. I hear my toddler has woken up. So I will get online a little later for the second pass. All right.